And welcome back. Well, we first met our next guest back in April for Autism Awareness Month. Tom Iland was diagnosed with autism at 13 and over the years has overcome many personal and professional obstacles. He co-wrote this book with his mother, Emily. It's called Come to Life, Your Guide to Self-Discovery. And it's to help youth with autism find their voice and become their best selves.
Tom and Emily are here with us. They're in Wisconsin because Tom is the keynote speaker at a statewide conference on best practices in inclusive education. Emily is also presenting at the conference. Her program called Experience Autism helps police officers be more prepared when interacting with people who are on the spectrum. Her film called Be Safe teaches kids with autism what to do when they meet with a police officer. Great to see you.
You guys are a power family.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys are fantastic. I love having you. Great to see you again, and nice to meet you for the first time. Would you share again the story, especially because Tiff wasn't here, but we were all touched by it when you talked about growing up and your siblings would receive calls from friends and you didn't.
Right, so I was diagnosed with autism when I was 13, and in the household my sister and brother were receiving calls from friends left and right. And one day I asked my mother, why doesn't the phone ever ring for me? And she had to think on her feet really quickly, and rather than say, you're not very good at making friends, she told me, oh, you're still learning how to make friends. And that initiated the conversation, sitting me down at the kitchen table to explain to me that I was diagnosed with autism.
That is so cute.
You're still learning.
How you think on your feet.
Well, you're still learning is a wonderful way to explain things to everybody.
Yeah.
If your kid's in the park, your kid with autism, and they cut in front of the line at the slide and everyone's like, what's up with that? He's still learning to wait his turn. And that just reduces the pressure and normalizes that people develop at different rates, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people talk about the difficulty of autism because there's such a wide spectrum of ability. And so, you know, how do you talk to people who are maybe on a more difficult end of the spectrum versus someone who's much more functional? You've held full-time jobs.
I have.
Yeah, you were an accountant, right? Or a CPA?
And I still am a CPA.
You still are?
In California, though I find much more happiness and much more fulfillment and purpose in educating people about autism and telling my story, and I'm doing speeches all around the country, including in Wausau on Tuesday, and I think that's something that's really going to make a difference in this world.
What is a challenge for you as an adult with autism? You were diagnosed at 13. For example, I think you make wonderful eye contact. That's something that is maybe a stereotype that people are familiar with for people who are on the autism spectrum. How do you feel challenged when interacting with people, things that maybe obstacles you face that other people who don't have autism don't deal with?
One challenge I sometimes face is being able to relate on a certain level. Like if you're talking about something I may not have a lot of interest in, I'll still find some way to keep relating, or maybe I'll ask more questions. So tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Whereas other people with autism might want to shift gears and talk about things they know a lot about.
Yeah.
Whereas I want to do my best to relate to others.
So you have to work at that. Is that what you're saying?
Sometimes.
To be interested sometimes and to relate to people in that way.
Absolutely.
I think this is wonderful. I like the whole idea of we're still learning things, because we all are still learning things in our life. What do, you know, because part of this whole program that you're doing is really teaching police officers as well, both ends of the spectrum, police officers and those with autism, how to interact. What are we still learning about that interaction?
Well, it's very challenging for the police to recognize autism because it's an invisible disability and it's a spectrum disorder, and people look very different. So there's not just one autism we're trying to teach them about. So basically what we do is we teach them about the different features of autism, the communication differences, the social differences, the fine motor differences, the things that would interfere with an interaction that could make it go wrong.
Yeah.
Why do you use these mitts as part of the training that you do with police officers? So you brought us each a pair of these and said to put them on our hands.
Yes. So what we do is we ask the police officers to put on their mitts and pick up a paper clip and attach it to this card. So go ahead and try that.
It's like near impossible.
A paper clip.
A paper clip. Pick it up.
Just one, Tiff, right?
Yeah.
See how many you can put on in a couple of seconds.
Okay. So it takes me a lot longer.
There you go.
I really have to use like my legs.
Yeah. Me too. Okay.
So this is very hard.
It's very hard.
Idea.
So our program for the police is empathy-based. So we're teaching them that things that are easy for us can be hard for someone on the spectrum, whether it's communicating, giving you eye contact, right? All right, now let's try it with binder clips. See if you can do a better job with binder clips.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep your mitt on.
I can tell this is going to be just a little. I thought it was going to be easier. I'm still learning.
Yes.
It's bigger. The clip is bigger, so that was easier.
It has handles.
It has
handles.
Okay.
So the purpose of this is to first build empathy for the police, to understand the differences, whatever they are. This one's for fine motor. And then I say, well, how would this get in interaction with you?
Yeah.
When I ask them to take out their license, when I ask them to sign their name, they understand immediately how the fine motor impairments and autism would interfere during contact. And then we go through similar activities for communication. They experience what it's like to communicate, and they think of how it would interfere. But we always ask them, well, if it's that hard, what could you do to help a person who has a fine motor difference? Well, I could ask them if they want me to sign for them. I could ask them if they want me to help them get their license out. So they come up with the solutions once they have the empathy. And these activities are about empathy building. And in particular, this is about accommodation. So everybody has the right to have their disability accommodated by the police. That's the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I explained to them, because a lot of police think that that an accommodation is special treatment. Do you think it's special treatment if a deaf person has an interpreter present?
Right.
No. But they think that accommodating autism is special treatment. So what the point is, it's not special treatment to give someone something that, do something that makes someone more functional. So if you're asking them to do it this way and they can't because of their disability, what if you ask them to do it this way and they can? That's what an accommodation is.
How'd your mom get so smart?
Experience, practice, and living with me all these years.
Yeah, she's pretty impressive, don't you think?
Thank you.
And mind you, Tiffany, you weren't here when I was here the first time, but basically I couldn't accept my diagnosis until I knew that she had. And there was a time where I told her, Mom, I need to be perfect. And she said, why is that? Well, because you're perfect.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, no, I am not perfect. And so I started making mistakes publicly, like, oh my gosh, I'm lost again. What am I gonna do? I have no, this was before GPS, and I was desperately lost constantly, but he didn't know it. Because I
always kept it, kept it together.
So I started talking about my imperfections, and I had my husband and my other kids do the same, so that he didn't feel that pressure to be perfect.
I love it. People can also see your movie, it's Be Safe. Is it about the same topic?
So when Tom was going to drive, I was very worried about what would happen if he got pulled over, because there was a huge Jim Carrey fan, and I was afraid he might say something from one of the Jim Carrey movies, because he would make that association when his window went down with
That's funny.
Harry and Lloyd.
Liar, Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
So I was really afraid that he would do or say the wrong thing, so I decided to start training the police, and then I realized that wasn't enough, and I'll tell you more about that when you're ready to hear about Be Safe.
You guys are wonderful. You really are such an amazing, incredible family doing such good things to make the world more inclusive. Here's where you can find out more about Tom Iland. You can go to his website. It's thomasiland.com. And then to learn more about the movie and what Emily teaches as well with Experience Autism, which is an evidence-based program for police, it's emilyiland.com, and then besafethemovie.com or experienceautism.com as well. You two are wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. It's great. Come back anytime you want to.
We would love to.
We'll have another visit.
Love
Thank
it.
you.